Well, hello there. This is Wishup with your weekly mirror reading from January 25th to the 31st, 2015. I have a new setup which I hope will be more visible so that you'll be able to see the cards better and understand what I'm doing. And I'll explain a little bit here about how I start and go through it. So the first thing I do when I do this strange combination of tarot and I Ching, a little numerology, a little astrology, a little yada yada, is that I roll 6 dice. And I roll them in 2 sets of 3 to get trigrams to put together for the I Ching reading. So this is the first set that I rolled, and I got a 6, a 6, and a 5. And I draw that as unbroken line, unbroken line, broken line. I see odds as broken lines. However, this is where I think some people who do I Ching in a more traditional way are going to go, but you're doing it exactly opposite of what it's supposed to be. Because a broken line is thought of as yin, feminine type energy. If I had 3 broken lines together, it would be the symbol for Earth, Mother Earth, the most yin energy there is. So they think that when you see an even number, like 2 is the high priestess, that this even number represents the feminine energy. And so you should draw a broken line for even numbers. And that's the way many people do it. Now, what I do is exactly opposite. When I see an even number, I do an unbroken line. I can't explain that except to say that it works in my strange dyslexic mirror mind. And once I've got the trigram composed, I read it in a traditional way. But the way I think of it is analogous to whether or not you're a card flipper in tarot or oracle cards. Let me show you what I mean. If I have this card and I flip from my deck, then I do it this way. So the card was upright when it was sitting on the deck, but when I flipped it, it went upside down into the reverse position. And you might be a flipper, or you might be a person who flips your card like book format, in which case the orientation of uprights and reverses stays the same. It doesn't matter which one you do as long as you're very consistent with it. I am completely consistent with this little setup, and I've been doing it for years. So I wanted to explain, because some people who use things like dice for I Ching or other forms to get I Ching trigrams may be somewhat horrified, but I think of it as being a card flipper. And once I get this trigram made with my individual lines, I read this in very much the traditional way. I don't flip this to turn it into 16, although, you know, my mind would love to do that, but I do read this once it's assembled in a traditional way, but the individual lines I get a little bit oddly. So that might be more than you wanted to know, but I felt if there were a stopping point for anybody who does traditional I Ching, this would really be it. And I Ching itself actually has inherent contradictions. For example, metal, which is the hardest of all elements, is thought of as a yang, male kind of element. But the symbol in animal for the element of metal is a white tiger, which is yin, very female. So all of these systems have inherent contradictions, and that's part of where the fun is in interpreting them and learning them yourself, so that you can kind of see where you can work with them and where they sort of reveal different things to you. So this week I got wind over lake, which is very symmetrical, as you'll notice, and it creates this beautiful trigram 61, insight, or also could be considered inner truth. And I'm going to read just a little bit from this Tao Te Ching translation, just a couple lines from verse 61. A great country is like low land. It is the meeting ground of the universe, the mother of the universe. The female overcomes the male with stillness, lying low in stillness. And then I'll skip ahead to read, therefore those who would conquer must yield, and those who conquer do so because they yield. When you read the verses of the I Ching, you'll notice that there's a lot about frankly, politics and war and government, those were very much top issues at the time that it was composed. And in fact, those issues of the way people deal with each other and war and military campaigns, these are all questions of dynamism, of the way we relate to each other and movement. And so I deal with them in that way. So what we see in that verse is that there's very much a balance between the female and male, and there's this dynamism that says she's conquering through yielding, and that those who conquer also know how to be yielding. And you're going to see that up here too, which I think is fantastic. So I wanted to explain. So I take wind, which for me, this is a wand type element. So because here I have 6, 6, and 5, which would be, wait a minute, 6, 6, and 5, which would be 17. Thank you. I pull the 8 of wands because I add 6, 6, and 5. I get 17. Then I add 1 and 7, and I get 8. So here's the 8 of wands. But because the 6 is emphasized, I also pull the 6 of wands. So that might be confusing, but I hope it makes sense. And then that's my minor arcana, and then I mirror it with the major arcana because this adds up to 17. So I pull 17 of the major arcana, which is the star. So in the lower trigram, I have lake, which is a water or cups type energy. And so I've got 4, 3, and 2, which adds up to 9. So this is the 9 of cups in the minor arcana position, and then 9 is the hermit in the major arcana position. So the other thing I do to explain this is that I take 6 and 1 together, I get 7, and that gives me sort of an overall card that goes along with the overall message of the I Ching. So let's talk through it a little bit. Okay, so if the above area is very yang, is very male energy, not male in gender, but I put here inhale and exhale. These are two equal things. It's not better to exhale than to inhale. You need to do them both. It just represents a movement. So this is drawing things into yourself and then putting things out into the world and then pulling things back into the internal cycle and putting them back out in the world, which is very much what the verse is talking about. So what we see in this insight or inner truth is the need to really know ourselves. The 9 of Cups is often called the wish card, and it represents wishes coming true, great satisfaction, and you can see a great sense of contentment with oneself. So I think the Hermit down here with the 9 of Cups is asking us, do you know who you are? Do you know what you want? I feel like January as a month has actually been somewhat challenging. You kick off the month and there have actually been a fair number of challenges and questions, internal questions to ask. I almost feel like the end of the month is really a better time to pick your New Year's resolutions. You may have picked resolutions or picked intentions for the year, and already they seem a little funny or not quite a good fit. But all the work that has been going on over January with self-examination and letting go of things from the past and examining ourselves and what makes us tick, I think has led to actually a clarification, a crystallization, and that can be represented in these two cards. Knowing what you want, being enlightened, having insight about what you want, and really making it your fervent wish, being happy with who you are and what you want. And then we move up into the external cards and we get this guy again. We've actually had these both in these positions already this month, but here we have the 6 of Wands, a great card of victory, of social acceptance, of having made a certain amount of progress. It could be in a job or career, it could be in a project or a work of your heart, a creative project. But at the 6, you've come out of some of the challenges of the 5 and you've achieved actually a little bit of success. And you're thinking, and now where do I go from here? I'm starting to get the hang of this. right? I'm not at my ultimate victory, but I'm starting to taste some of the fruits of what I want. And the Eight of Wands signifies that this is only just getting started, that things are ramping up with this process that you're working on. And the star not only represents, great success, but it also represents great healing, great hope. It's one of the, well, it is the most hopeful card in the deck. So I think what you see here is very much that cycle that says, if you know what you want, and I think this month has been challenging for that, but maybe that is starting to crystallize. And I think actually having Mercury retrograde in Aquarius has been good and will continue to be good. Mercury loves Aquarius. It likes thinking and communication. So now's the time to be talking with people about what you really want, writing down what you really want, just really hashing it out with yourself, because Aquarius likes big goals and noble goals, goals that have good intentions behind them. And that doesn't mean it has to be a charitable goal, although it may be if that's the work of your heart. But it really needs to be something where you feel great virtue behind it. It makes you feel good about yourself and about what you have to contribute. So I think that the Hermit is saying, if you need to continue to do a little bit of self-examination to get there, because things are almost crystallized, but maybe not quite there, that's great. Take this time. Let yourself do that, and then make those fervent wishes from a place of great solidity and great surety. As I said, like the Devil card just kept coming up, and releasing the past and issues like that kept coming up for lots of readers, not just me. And I think it was saying, you've got to deal with issues of prestige and your place in the world, and how much do you want what you want, and what are the reasons you want it. And I feel like some of that pressure is finally coming off, and that's wonderful. So I think that now we're almost in a position to make that real New Year's wish, that real 2015 wish, and to really see it start to take flight. And see this virtue of the stuff we put out in the world actually provides a lot of benefit, a lot of healing, potential hope for other people in whatever way we're contributing. If we're doing it in a, with a happy heart and with a good sense of who we are, it's going to be good for everybody else. And then we can take everything that we learn, capture this star, put it right back there, refocus it, turn it back into clear wishes in comfort and happiness and joy, turn that into more success, which then speeds our way to more, and you can see the cycle. And that's exactly what Hexagram 61 talks about, this cycle. And it's about inner truth. So let's get to the Chariot. The Chariot embodies these qualities. Here's this guy, and he's got the heavens above him. He's got the kingdom behind him. He's got these great sphinxes at his feet, which can represent the push and pull of various forces, but they are in control. They are in balance. Here's the yoni and the lingam, which is male, female, in balance. Here are the moon crescents up here. This person has spiritual control, has a sense of direction. We're only at number 7 in the major arcana, so there's a lot of room to grow on. There's a lot of path to go, but this is an indication of surety, of direction, of navigation. We're ready now to hit the gas, and I don't feel like we were ready before. At least I can speak for myself. I wasn't quite ready before, but I feel like I'm getting there, and I think that some of the astrology is sort of helping contribute to that sense. So we shouldn't be driven by the artificial calendar if the calendar inside you is saying, I'm not sure I'm ready. Anyway, so here are the 2 bonus cards, which I love to do. I actually pull a deck and I do the 2 bonus cards. And it looks like I'm getting close to 15 minutes. And the way I'm doing this on a smartphone, I'm probably going to have to throw the bonus cards in a part 2 of the video. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, hang on, sports fans.